What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. What's the rationale for that?
You voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here. Our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
It's U.S. Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois and U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi going at it yesterday in the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. Good Wednesday morning. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning. I'm the editor of the Center Square, Illinois, and we do Illinois in Focus each and every weekday morning. So a lot to tackle here. We'll hear from Governor J.B. Pritzker, who was with Tim Walz. We'll get that in a different segment here, but we've got a ton going on when it comes to the ongoing issue of public safety in the city of Chicago with the ongoing enforcement of immigration. And you've got headlines across the way here, like, for instance, DHS debunks Governor Pritzker's harmful lies about Operation Midway Blitz. This is from the DHS website, where you can read more about that. We'll touch on that here in a moment. But you've also got ICE and DHS tackling a whole host of things, like, for instance, getting onto the streets and getting public safety. Here's a video that the Department of Homeland Security posted. And make sure that we don't get the music on there. So here we go. It's a social media video they shared, and it's something straight out of Hollywood. You can see somebody jumping over a fence. You got body cam footage, Border Patrol driving around, people yelling at them. Then they're searching a vehicle, and you've got people being taken out of vehicles, being searched and being handcuffed, being taken out, and another person running down the street, body camera footage, being thrown onto the sidewalk, rolled around, police with firearms out, approaching vehicles, pulling people out, handcuffing them. So you can see this. It says, bag it, tag it, take it down. So that is the Department of Homeland Security's video they shared yesterday. And they also shared a few days ago all of the video. Again, it looked like something produced out of Hollywood of a recent raid they did on an apartment building. And it was even featured during Governor J.B. Pritzker's news event he had earlier this week. But you've got the Department of Homeland Security really hammering on this and saying that they arrested a Latin King gang member for allegedly placing a hit on Gregory Bavino, the large Border Patrol commander at large for Border Patrol. So you can read more about those particular issues. So clearly there's ongoing tensions across the board. So you have U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who yesterday testified in front of the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee, controlled by Republicans. Illinois U.S. Senator Dick Durbin used to be the chairman when the Democrats controlled the U.S. Senate, but now that Republicans control the U.S. Senate, he's just a minority spokesperson. All right, so he's the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. He had these exchanges with Pam Bondi yesterday.
Attorney General, you're focusing on helping President Trump play strongman on television. He has illegally deployed troops to Chicago and other American cities and has threatened to send more. The Justice Department defends this dubious legal basis for these deployments and diverts DOJ personnel and their components to assist in these efforts. These deployments basically target Democratic-run cities and Democratic leaders, ignoring many Republican-led areas of our country with even higher crime rates, and making clear that this is for political theater, not public safety.
So you got Durbin making those statements. He also made some claims.
Federal agents pulled women and children out of their beds, crashed down the doors to their homes, destroyed their apartments, zip-tied children and others, and detained immigrants and U.S. citizens alike for hours in vans. When one witness complained about the treatment of the small children, an agent laughed at her and said, "F them kids."
Again, that's Durbin making some claims yesterday during the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. If you go to the DHS press release website, you'll see this. DHS debunks Governor Pritzker's harmful lies. I would venture to say they probably include other Democrats in this list as well. But let's just read through this a little bit because you may have picked up on some clips that Governor J.B. Pritzker shared from earlier on. He's been making the rounds on various cable TV shows. Says between appearances on CNN State of the Union and a Monday afternoon press conference, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker repeatedly lied about federal law enforcement operations in Chicago. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is setting the record straight, they say, about Pritzker's lies and defending the brave men and women of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Protection from his smears and slander. So Tricia McLaughlin, the Assistant Secretary, said the message to J.B. Pritzker: get out of your mansion and see Chicago. If J.B. Pritzker actually walked the streets of his own city, he would see domestic terrorists and violent rioters attacking police officers, and the scourge of violent crime is a direct result of his policies. Then it goes into a, quote, smorgasbord of lies that DHS says you have Democrats and Governor J.B. Pritzker in particular saying, and let's, the idea of using zip ties on children, I think they addressed this. Let's see here. Children were zip tied. This is a shameful, disgraceful lie, said Tricia McLaughlin. Why is the sitting governor so unconcerned with criminally illegal aliens living amongst innocents in his city? The claim that a toddler was zip-tied originated from a screenshot that went viral and it showed an ICE officer zip-tying a child, allegedly. This has been debunked, and you can see there. So you've got a ton of claims that they just go through and highlight were wrong from Governor J.B. Pritzker. But at the same time, you've got the issue, and here's a reporter out of Chicago for the Chicago Sun-Times. And he shared earlier this morning, prosecutors in Chicago moved to dismiss charges against the Chicago couple found with lawfully carried loaded firearms outside of ICE's Broadview facility last month. That case, as this reporter notes, has been used nationally to argue ICE agents have been endangered by the protests there. And again, you've got, the protests that clashed and the reports that came out about two individuals found with loaded firearms outside the Broadview facility up against a fence when there were clashes with Border Patrol and ICE agents and federal law enforcement. And the initial stories came out that these individuals were arrested after clashes and they had firearms on them. And this was also just, a few days after what happened down in Dallas with the sniper shooting at an ICE facility, killing two detainees. Obviously things are heightened. But if these individuals had lawfully possessed firearms on their persons, how that shakes down when they move to dismiss the case, it's interesting. So, listen, both sides might be getting things wrong or mixed up. And sometimes it's very important to, especially when you're gathering information, to when things initially happen, try to get as much as you can, but know that the initial statements that are made, the initial facts that there are presented may change and not actually be what happened on the ground. So it's kind of interesting to just break that down for you. So Durbin made those claims. DHS previously had tried to debunk Governor Pritzker making very similar claims. But then yesterday you had this exchange between the Illinois U.S. Senator and the U.S. Attorney General in particular about the guard in Chicago.
Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place.
Later on, it was a pretty lengthy hearing, Bondi getting peppered with all kinds of questions during the Judiciary Committee hearing, which also highlighted, the question of weaponization of government. And I don't know if you guys saw the headline, but apparently Chuck Grassley, Senator, he put out a report indicating that the FBI had an officer trying to get authorized for certain things and revealed that they had been authorized to essentially get the phone records of sitting U.S. senators during the Biden administration. So it's pretty fascinating. Anyways, little tangential, but still back to the U.S. Judiciary Committee for the Senate. Bondi went back to talk about the National Guard and public safety in Chicago and elsewhere.
And to go back to your previous question, your city has a murder rate 5 times higher than New York's. 571 homicides last year. If you were serious about protecting your people, you would be asking this administration for help. You're saying that we're coming into your state and your city. We're there to help make America safe and Illinois safe, whether or not you want to.
So it's, again, Pam Bondi, the U.S. Attorney General, yesterday during a U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee hearing. And I imagine that we're just going to get more reaction to all of this, see how the Guard gets onto the streets. Thursday, we've got a hearing that's going to happen in the Northern District of Illinois Federal Court with the state of Illinois suing the Trump administration and a temporary restraining order being requested. And that's, those who follow legal procedure, anything can happen here. The judge could rule from the bench Thursday or take it under advisement and then issue a ruling later. How this is going to play out, we'll be watching closely. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and get the headlines in your inbox each and every weekday morning with the Center Square.